Correlation and causation. Two things can be related, but one doesn't necessarily mean it causes the other. So if two things are directly related, then they are correlated. Just because there's a correlation between two things does not mean it leads to something else that's not related to it. And this is all very strange talking about it, so let's just take a look at some examples. So correlation is how two things are related. Cool, makes sense. Versus causation, how one thing makes another thing behave, or how it changes something else. You can have two things that are directly related and they don't have causation, but you can also have an outside influence that would affect that causation. So two things can be directly related, but that doesn't necessarily mean that because those two things are related, that one is affecting the other. You're looking for a correlation and a causation at the same time. So that really narrows it down. Let's read two of these examples. For hotels, washing more sheets is associated with drying more sheets. Obviously, those two things are correlated. They're correlated because they directly relate to each other. If you have wet sheets, you need to dry the sheets. That makes sense. If you had dry sheets and they were dirty, then you'd need to get them wet to clean them, and then you'd need to dry them. Those are all three things that are all correlated together. It's a process, right? Now, does one thing cause the other? Well, if you are going to wash sheets, you have to dry them. Now, your method of drying them may be different, but washing sheets leads to drying sheets. That is where a correlation and causation is taking place. Let's take a look at a non-example where a correlation is not necessarily also a causation. For coffee shops, washing more mugs is associated with wiping countertops more often. So you can see that those two things are related, right? So there's at a coffee shop, we're in the same place, there's going to be washing mugs and washing something else. But is a mug necessarily associated with cleaning a table? Cleaning a mug, cleaning a table? Not necessarily. Just because you have a drink out of a mug does not mean you're going to have to clean a table. It's not a result of one thing. So whenever we're talking about can they be correlated? Yes. Does one cause the other? No. This is a good example.